Hi, I'm Virginia, and today I'm going to show you how to make a yarn doll like the one that Esperanza's mother made for the little girl on the train in the book Esperanza Rising by Pam Muñoz Ryan. So it's not very difficult, just a few simple steps, and you'll have a doll like this. So you will need the following items that you probably have around the house. First thing you'll need is some yarn. I think you would need a ball about this big. This would probably be more than enough, but you want to make sure that you have enough and that you don't run short. You would need a pair of scissors, a ruler, a clothespin, and a book. I'm going to use this one, and this is about 7.5 inches high by 5 inches wide. And I'm going to use this to wind the yarn for the doll. So the first thing I'm going to do is take my ruler, and I'm going to measure 12 inches. And then I'm going to use this, and I'm going to cut 6 more. So when you have all 6 cut, just set them aside. We'll be using them in a few minutes. Then pick up your book and take your ball of yarn and pull some of it off so you have some working yarn to the side. Then take the book, and starting at the top, you're going to wind the yarn around the book 50 times. So 1, 2, 3, don't make this too tight, 4, 5. So when you've wound it around 50 times, you can cut the yarn from the ball, and taking one of the 7 pieces that you cut earlier, slip that into the middle at the front of the book like this, and you're going to tie a knot. If you have somebody working with you, you can get them to put their finger to hold the knot, but if not, just try to tie the knot as tightly as possible. So I'm going to tie a square knot, which is left over right, pull it tight, and right over left. Now I'm going to ease that yarn off the book and put the book aside. I'm going to take the yarn, and I'm going to pick it up with the pieces of yarn that I just used to tie it. Now, again, if you're working alone, it might be a good idea to have a clipboard, and you can clip this ends of the yarn under the clip of the clipboard. If you're working with someone, you probably don't have to do that because they could hold it as you're working on this. At this point, I have my doll, because I'm working alone, secured to my clipboard. And the next thing that I'm going to do is to tie off the head for the doll. So measuring down approximately 1 inch from where the tie is, I'm going to take one of the pieces that I cut before, and I'm going to tie a knot around the front like this. Now I don't have a helper, so I'm tying a square knot, which is left over right and right over left. So I've got this tie, and now I have a head for my doll. The next thing that we want to do is to make arms for the doll. So you're going to take your yarn and you're going to measure off 12 pieces on each side at the top, just under where you tied off the head. So it would look something like this. So when you have those arms separated and you have 12 strands of yarn on each side, take your clothespin and clip off the right side of those strands and turn and divide the ones on the left side into thirds. So you'd have about 4 strands of yarn in each section. And then you could begin to braid that just like you were braiding your hair. And when you get down to about an inch before the ends of the strands, you can take another one of the pieces that you cut earlier, and again, you can tie a square knot at the end of that. Then do the same thing to the other side. So when you have the doll so that it looks like this, you can take your scissors and you can trim those ragged edges of the arms so you create hands. I'm cutting it about an inch down from the knot so that it looks like this. So the next thing we're going to do is to tie off this section to make like a torso. So again, I'm taking one of my strands of yarn. I'm figuring about an inch down. It doesn't have to be something that you measure with a ruler or anything. You can just look at it and see where you think an inch would be. Again, my square knot, tie it as tight as I can. Okay, now I'm going to separate the strands at the bottom. I'm going to make 2 parts like that, and those are going to be the legs like this. So I'm going to attach it again to the clipboard, and I'm going to braid like the left side, till I get down to about an inch or so below the ends of the strand, the end of the strand of yarns. I'm going to tie that off. And I'm going to do the same thing to the other side. So now it should look like this. And again, you can take your scissor and trim off the straggly ends of yarn at the end of each leg to make a foot. And here you have a yarn doll, like the one that Mama made in Esperanza Rising. I hope you've enjoyed this afternoon. And if you haven't read Esperanza Rising by Pam Muñoz Ryan, I recommend this book. It's one of my favorites. It's available through the Goshen Public Library. Thank you, and I hope to see you again soon.